Hi everyone. So this is the second part of my albums of the year. Um, this part has been filmed a couple of times. I recently got a new lens today for my Canon DSLR, and it's a pretty cheap lens, but at least it allows me to shoot in sort of darker conditions, or at least indoors. The sort of zoom lens I had was pretty dreadful, so I decided to go the whole hog and sort of record it again with sort of better equipment, even going as far as getting my trusty Shure SM7 out, which for those who were sort of big on audio recording in the VC was the microphone which was actually used on Michael Jackson's Thriller album. A boring techie fact, but yeah. So on to now. This video is mostly going to be about reissues, but there's a few sort of other albums I'd like to talk about. I've recently been listening to the Foo Fighters' new album, Sonic Highways, which I downloaded today. Um, don't go mad over it, but a couple of good songs. I think really I started going off the Foo Fighters when I discovered Husker Du in Bob Moe's solo stuff. I mean, basically the Foo Fighters is a radio-friendly version of Husker Du. Also Coldplay's last album, Ghost Stories, which is sort of Chris Martin's breakup album. Uh, pretty lousy. First two tracks are not bad, but the rest of it just doesn't really do anything for me. And when they start doing all the sort of EDM crap at the end, I just can't do it. No, not a very good album. Um, then there's another album I'd like to talk about, The War on Drugs, which was one of those albums that everybody was raving about, and I listened to it and it just did nothing for me. Too many sort of the lead singer likes to sort of ape Tom Petty and Bob Dylan. I mean, those are two singers that I don't really like. Their vocal mannerisms have always driven me up the wall. So yeah, that album's not for me as well. Another disappointment, that there's yeah, the new Pixies album, which turned out to be a bit of an anticlimax. It wasn't really it wasn't really surprising, I suppose, seeing that most of the tracks had been released in dribs and drabs. It was more of a compilation and a sort of new studio album. Um, but there was moments on there which were good. It's just a shame that after all those years, that's all they could come up with. It was not on the par with sort of Dinosaur Jr. and their sort of reunion albums, which all turned out to be brilliant. Um, so yeah, on to the reissues. There's a couple of disappointments this year, which I'll get out of the way. Aphrodite's Child 666. Everybody's heard me rant about this one. Sound quality is really good. Pressing quality leaves a lot to be desired. Then there's a Holy Bible 20, which sound quality wise, I mean the vinyl, people complained about it, saying it was sort of noisy and didn't fit on most people's turntables. But my experience was it wasn't bad. The problem is it's on one disc and it sounds a bit quiet. But the pressing for me wasn't that noisy. It's mainly the CDs and the content on them. It was a bit of a missed opportunity. There are some tracks that appeared on the 10th anniversary edition. There's some demos and some BBC sessions which weren't carried over, and so was a DVD that wasn't carried over as well. That was a big disappointment. Um, so what else? So now we're on to the sort of better reissues. Um, Sun Zoom Spark. the new Captain Beefheart reissue. Um, really pleased with this, but on the other hand, really disappointed as uh, I discovered after I received the box set. Um, I discovered that the band members, the members of the Magic Band, were not paid for this box set. So all the money went to Don Van Vliet's widow and some greedy record executive. So that was a bit of a downer. But aside from that, Warner Brothers did a really good job of it. Really nice pressings in the CDs. I mean, Lit My Decals Off Baby, which has been out of print for years, I think 2 decades, really deserves to be back in print. In fact, in my opinion, it's a better album than Trout Mask. Um, so another reissue, not the best album. This is a documented eyewitness by Wire, but certainly one that was worth reissuing. It's not their most difficult to find album, but uh, I liked it. But I'm a big Wire fan. In fact, I prefer that album to 154, which is probably a bit too dense, a bit too overproduced, and yeah, another band whose vinyl was back in print after a long time out of print was the Orange Juice. I only managed to pick up Rip It Up and self-titled one, which is probably my favourite. Well, I don't know. It's a toss up between those two. Um, yeah, I never paid much attention. I always liked Rip It Up, the big hit, but It was this year when Domino re-released those albums that I really started paying attention, and they are really brilliant albums. Also, a load of folk music on Universal was reissue, and finally there's a decent reissue of Legion Leaf by Fairport Convention. Again, I don't think this is my favourite album by Fairport Convention. I think it's their most overrated. Um, but I've always wanted a decent copy of it, and most of the reissues have been crap. Um, and finding one with a pink label is a complete nightmare. Um, Another reissue I particularly enjoyed. This was a sort of a accidental discovery. Soul mining by the. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of Matt Johnson's work. There's been some really good stuff, but there's been some really bland albums that he's released. But I mean, Soul Mining is just a brilliant album from start to finish. Real sort of it does remind me a bit of Magazine in a way. That sort of romantic angst, as I like to call it. Um, in It's one of those albums from the 80s which really stand up well today. Even if the production's dated, it's still an absolute riot.